Approximately 48 hours ago, Hurricane Sandy hit the eastern seaboard of the United States. Many folks call this a perfect storm. Well, I'd like to talk to you about a perfect storm in Indianapolis, a perfect storm that is centered around Indianapolis Public Schools. My name is Jim Nixon, and I'm running for IPS School Board, District 1 on the east side of Indianapolis. Let me talk to you a little bit more about this perfect storm. This has been going on for more than a few months, probably a couple years at least, but it really starts with federal regulations and the reform within the state. Those reforms coming down, pushing down on IPS. A number of mandates have made it more and more difficult for a lot of our educators to do the job that we expect them to do. In addition to that, we've had failing schools within IPS that have become takeover schools, taken away by the state and given to charter companies to run. Also, we have numerous organizations from outside of the state that have interest in creating a new form of governance or even policies for IPS. Now, mind you, many of those ideas are very good and probably viable, but the concern is, along with those organizations that are coming from outside sources outside of Indiana, there are many donor dollars that are coming to a number of our school board candidates this year. We have never seen as much money spent in a school board election as we have this year. Also, Dr. White will be leaving soon, whether it's after the installation of the new school board members or at the end of his contract. But understand, within the next 2 years, we will be looking for a new superintendent. A superintendent that will have to abide by the vision that our school board will come up with for IPS. And hopefully that vision will extend out beyond a generation, better than just a couple years, but something that is truly long range. The last part of this perfect storm is probably the good story, and it has to do with our community. We have some community leaders who are very concerned about the education options that we have within Marion County, and mostly IPS. In addition, we have never had so many parents, family members, taxpayers concerned about the outcomes for our children. They've become more vocal. That's our perfect storm. Well, let me talk to you a little bit about some of the solutions that I see. Only a small number. First of all, autonomous schools. Schools that stand on their own, but are led by principals who are truly leaders and not individuals that are credentialed. These leaders should be individuals who, again, have a proven skill set to be able to develop their staffs, and better yet, reach into the community to families as well as businesses and other organizations. And really the purpose of that is to solicit volunteers to participate in mentoring as well as tutoring of our children. Now, I say tutoring, one of those things within our elementary schools is so important. We have an I-read test, and it's been proven that if our children are able to read at a third grade level, the potential to graduate is greatly improved. If they're not able to read at third grade level in third grade, there's a very good chance they won't graduate. So what I talk about, and it's something that we do in the school that I serve in. In fact, I've been a volunteer for 25 years. But we have 4 parents or 4 adults that are involved in a reading process. They go through sight words, just a list of words the kids have to identify, but they also listen to the children read. Now, ultimately, we would love to have this done at home, But we keep hearing, well, we don't have enough time at home to do that. Well, if that's the case, we need your help to participate in our schools. And I've talked to a number of organizations. No one organization in Indianapolis is big enough to handle the 60-plus schools within IPS. So what I venture to say is, please, if you're an organization, adopt a school. You need to speak with the principal, but also the parent liaison, that individual who helps coordinate within that school. That would be huge, and that would be great for these kids' outcomes. Now, I just talked about the volunteers. Again, I'm a volunteer, as many other people are, but those mentors are so huge in our community. Let me talk about the financial side of IPS. We have a lot of candidates who are talking about they would demand the money from the state to come down and rescue IPS. Well, I'm not against that. In fact, I even said I would lobby at the State House. But more importantly, we have to change the culture within IPS. There is a program, it's called Six Sigma. There's also a Toyota model out there too. But what it does, it creates a culture of efficiency. It's a focus on the end user in that department or that system. I'll give you an example, something like payroll. With a payroll department, the number one user or the final user of that department would be an employee. So what's important? Getting the information on that check correctly, making sure people are paid correctly, and the checks are paid on time. Now, to my understanding, I believe everyone gets checks. Sometimes there are problems with checks, and that has to do with record keeping, and sometimes that can happen at the school level. But as long as the payroll department's doing what they need to do, our people get paid. Another department, IT. Now, IT takes care of a lot of different things within our school system, but what I think about with IT at the teacher level primarily is we get to the end of the grading period, and now we have all of our teachers trying to put in their grades, and what does the system usually do? It crashes. Well, why is that? Is it just not able to handle all of that business at one time? But it happens every grading period, and we have to extend the time of the grading period. So my suggestion is that we look at that. And those are just examples, but that's what Six Sigma does. It makes individuals in a department responsible for that, coming up with solutions and working through the problems that we have so we can rectify that. But it's all about efficiencies. I hear many times that our IPS employees aren't very good. Well, let me say this. It may be our systems that are failing our people. With any business, any organization, you're going to have some very good people. You will also have some individuals that, through training or whatever the circumstances, they're not living up to the jobs that they need to do. So again, I put out there Six Sigma. I'm the only candidate that is talking about Six Sigma. I believe we need those efficiencies. Well, let me wrap this up. I'll give you a little information on my background. Again, I am a business manager for the past 24 years. I've run a number of businesses. I've worked at hiring people, training staffs, as well as reaching out in the community. For the past 10 years, I've worked with a financial services company. I help families with their finances. I teach them how to make and save money. Even more importantly, the saving money, teaching them how to save for their retirement or even their children's education. That's a big issue, especially if kids want to go to college. How is that going to be funded? Not everybody gets a scholarship, but if the opportunity is there, how can we make money available to do that? But in addition to doing that with that company, I'm also a recruiter. So I can identify individuals with certain skill sets that would be appropriate for a particular position or role. And I would like to use that in reaching out and discovering, finding a new superintendent in the future. Again, my name is Jim Nixon, and I'm running for IPS School Board. on the east side of Indianapolis in District 1. Please vote for me Tuesday, November 6th. Thank you.